So let's move into thing two for today's episode of Washington in Focus Daily. Another highly contentious bill, one that blew up social media during the session, was Senate Bill 5974. This will allow the Criminal Justice Training Commission to decertify sheriffs. A lot of opposition to this bill during public hearings. There were a couple of rallies held on the steps of the legislative building. King County right now is the only place in the state of Washington with an appointed sheriff, appointed by the King County executive. Otherwise, these are elected positions in the other 38 of Washington's 39 counties. And people take a lot of pride in the fact that they can elect a sheriff. They can choose who they want to represent their values. So now a group of Washington sheriffs has been urging Governor Bob Ferguson, after the bill was signed, to veto sections of this before he puts his signature on it. They're waiting to find out if in fact is going to happen. In addition to allowing the Criminal Justice Training Commission to decertify sheriffs, the bill says that they have to meet new eligibility requirements, which include having at least 5 years of full time, uninterrupted law enforcement experience, not having done or said anything that would get your state certification revoked by the CJTC. And the commission could do that for misconduct. And that's where the question is in this bill. What constitutes misconduct? Many have suggested that an outspoken sheriff, say the likings of, Keith Swank of Pierce County, him posting things on social media that the Criminal Justice Training Commission could take issue with, could potentially get him decertified. Well, there's a lot of pushback on that. So here is part of my conversation that I had this morning with Mason County Sheriff Ryan Sperling.
They want to control what sheriffs say. And this is one of those wrestling match because I hear politicians say things that aren't necessarily true all the time, yet they're not necessarily held accountable. But sheriffs are in a different category according to a lot of people. So that's one of those things that they're wrestling through. Should sheriffs be political? Should we be able to say, or should it be controlled? And this bill effectively will mute sheriffs because of the threat of being decertified and removed by the way the RCW is written in the decertification portion, not necessarily in this bill, but in the decertification. They had to modify the bill so that the King County Sheriff wouldn't be removed because she didn't have 5 years of continuous law enforcement as a fully commissioned. She'd been involved with law enforcement, but she wasn't commissioned. So she would have been removed. So they did modify that to protect her and a few other people within. And there's a chief of police that was protected as well. So some of that stuff is rather interesting. My big concern, again, is taking away a sheriff's ability to speak out politically. It's stifling because I represent my constituents just like any elected official. And if my constituents are pushing me to stand up against something that Olympia is doing, I'm going to speak out, or depending on the level or the degree, we're going to say something, and this is going to potentially stifle that and again control the First Amendment rights or take away the First Amendment rights of an elected official.
Now, before it passed, lawmakers did include a couple of amendments to clarify that the 5 years of experience provision doesn't apply to current sheriffs. They did that because they wanted to protect Pacific County Sheriff Daniel Garcia, Navy veteran who won office without any prior law enforcement experience, but because of his decorated military service, his community wanted him to be the sheriff. So they made a special carve out for him that will make sure that he's not decertified by this legislation. As reported by the Center Square, Kitsap County Sheriff's candidate Rick Cuss is likely to be the first casualty of this legislation. He is a retired U.S. Navy officer. He holds a master's degree in criminal justice and has served as a deputy with the King County Sheriff's Office since 2023. But despite that military leadership and active patrol experience now with King County, the bill's strict uninterrupted employment timeline in law enforcement would disqualify him from appearing on the ballot. He told me when we last spoke a couple of weeks ago about this that at this point he's just kind of keeping on with his campaign towards the ballot in November, assuming there will be some legal challenges that potentially could put this bill after it's signed into law by the governor, and he's said that he will. After this is signed into law, he's hoping the legal challenges will maybe put it on hold, and then he could potentially be elected in November. And maybe there will be some exceptions made for that. So that's another bill we are closely watching for the governor's signature on, and intend to be there when that bill is in fact signed into law.